Hey, welcome collectors of all ages. This is Mike with Jayhawker Vintage Cards, and I think I have a pretty exciting show for you. I know I'm excited about what I'm going to show you, and if you've read the title, you know that I'm talking about a show that I attended in St. Louis, Missouri this weekend. Now, I'm recording this on a Saturday night, so it's going to post sometime Sunday. I'm pretty tired. It was a long 2 days, lots of driving, lots of resting for all my health issues going on. And speaking of that, I want to say thank you to all of you who have been keeping me in your thoughts and your prayers. To me, that's made a tremendous difference. And, you know, I dodged a bullet for the most part. I'm not out of the woods yet, but I'm very optimistic. I'm very positive. Things seem to be healing. I got the okay from my doctor to go to the show as long as my toe and everything did not get any worse. And, you know, I looked at it Thursday, looked at it Friday morning, and things look like they're not getting any worse. They look actually even better. So I decided to go, which is good because I'd already prepaid for the hotel, for the room, which is where the show was. I went ahead and prepaid for the room that was non-refundable. I actually had called them from the hospital saying, hey, I don't know if I can go. I'm in the hospital. Could you guys refund me this if I can't go? And they're like, no, too bad, so sad. But so I'm thankful I was able to go. But when I got out of the hospital, I had been in the hospital for two separate issues for about a week and a half, off and on. And I got home and I was just kind of feeling kind of bummed out a little bit because just that's what happens. So I had purchased a card kind of to treat myself. And I thought this was going to be my last big pickup for a while, big for me anyway. But I'll go ahead and show it to you because I want to show you the stuff that I got. But this is a 1954 All-Star photo pack of Stan the Man Musial. Of course, if you've been watching my videos, you know that even though I'm not a Cardinals fan, I'm a huge fan of the history of the Cardinals and a lot of their players, especially this guy, Stan the Man. That's just a beautiful piece. I know there's some glare. I'm just curious if anybody knows anything about these when they were taken, because that looks more like maybe a spring training type of picture. I don't know if you know. Please leave a comment. I'm curious about that. But this show that I went to in St. Louis, the main reason I was going because I really didn't plan on buying a lot of stuff. Like I said, that Musial is going to be my last big purchase for a long time because I am trying to save up for Strongsville. But I was mainly going to the show to meet up with some guys. So, you know, I've been told by Chris from Missouri, Joe Redneck Collector, that this show is after the game, sports, collectibles, and autographs. So if you want to look it up, there's a ton of autograph signers today and again tomorrow. And I'm not going to go through all those, but there's a lot of vintage guys signing there. So if you want to look it up on their website, absolutely do so. But what's really cool to me about this show is it's a smaller show. I think there's about 80 tables there, and it's almost all vintage, which is great for me because I mainly deal with vintage. There's like maybe a table of Pokemon there, and I don't even think it was pure Pokemon. I think they had sports stuff there too, and there was hardly any ultra modern. And there was some wax there, but it was mainly vintage. And I got to preface this by saying where I'm from, I live in Kansas. And the big shows around here in Kansas City. Now, a lot of you guys may not understand this if you're on the East Coast or the Northeast or places like Chicago, Cleveland, Dallas. We don't have good vintage cards at the shows in the Kansas City area. We just don't. I mean, I'm not talking about just the little shows. I'm talking about the 250, 300 table shows. It's a vintage card desert out here. So my perspective on this show is probably different from a lot of people, including somebody who was there that I got to meet for the first time, which I'm super stoked to have done so. But we'll get to him in just a second. But anyways, this is like an 80 table show. You can walk it in minutes. And it was so cool to see. Like I said, I did not plan on getting hardly anything at this show. That changed a little bit. So the main reason I was going was to meet up with my buddy. So I met up with Chris from Missouri. His friends, Joe and Coop, were there. And then, of course, my close hobby friends, Ross loves cards, and then Joe, Redneck Collector. But the guy I was really excited to meet and hang out with, and I didn't get a chance to hang out with him as much as I would have liked to, is Mike, baseball collector, Mike Moynihan. Now, I've mentioned this before, but Mike is the first YouTube content creator, vintage style, that I ever watched. When I first would get stuff that was popping up in my feed, it was all ultra modern stuff. And I wasn't even looking for cars. It was just, I was looking for sports videos or something, and this would pop up, and I wasn't interested in that. So I typed in, after months of seeing those things pop up, I typed in vintage baseball cards just to see if there's something out there. And it was Mike Moynihan's, one of his channels. I don't remember which one it was. I think it might have been one of those he doesn't even do anymore. But the point is I was like, okay, I can get into this. And it kind of opened up a whole new world. So I started seeing other people. I saw Chris when he first started. I watched Greg Midlife Sports Cards when he first started. And a lot of you guys as well that have kept me company through some pretty dark times. And boy, that's the best medicine. But it was exciting to go and meet up with those guys. So when I got there right about the time that Ross did. In fact, Ross was sitting out the parking lot. So we got there a little after 1 o'clock. The show started at 3, and we were all going to kind of meet up around 2-ish or so. So Ross and I got there, and we kind of pre-arranged some cards that I was going to sell him. So that was going to be a little bit of money that I got. But I got to show you something. He had shown in one of his videos a drawing that his son Tate had done of Orange Spawn, and Ross, I think, is using that as a bookmark. And he asked me, or Tate actually asked, hey, is there a player that I like? And I said, Veda Pinson. So we gave Ross the stuff that I brought for him, and then he gave me this. So his little son Tate made this Veda Pinson. I put this in a thing, but I've already been using it this afternoon and evening as a bookmark in a baseball book that I'm reading right now. So Tate, if you're watching this, I love this, man. I'm going to take this, and I might actually leave it in there, but I may take it to work and get it laminated. Your dad can tell you what that is, and I'm going to treasure this as a bookmark. So thank you, young man. That was outstanding. Well, Joe gets there a little after Ross and I go in, and we're just kind of hanging out in the lobby talking, and then eventually here comes Chris from Missouri, Tom Coop, and Mike Moynihan. And I'll have to say, I had never seen Mike Moynihan, and he's a pretty big dude. I'm a big guy myself, and I was surprised how big he was. For some reason, I just pictured him more smaller. Not that that means anything, but I just was kind of taken back by that. But Mike had mentioned in the video of this show today that he didn't really see anything in that show that stood out. And I don't know what he meant by that, but I think it's probably because Mike goes to some of the big shows. And Chris has, and Joe has too, the National, Strongsville, Dallas. They could go to the Philly show. I don't know. We just don't have that where I'm from. So when I walked in, we all walked in together right when the show started. When we walked in and turned to the left, the very first table, my mouth just dropped. I couldn't believe what I was looking at because I've never seen these cards in person. Now, I don't think it's quite the cards that you would see at Strongsville or the National, but again, from my perspective, I was amazed. It was like a kid walking into a candy store, except way better. But so I start looking at these wonderful cards. I have no idea whose table it is, and finally I look up, and it's Bill Chappell. So I knew who he was from all of you guys, and I knew he was going to be there, and I knew some other guys that set up at Strongsville or the National were going to be there too, but his was the first table I went to, and I'm looking at everything, and I kind of look behind him, and not in his display cases, but on a table behind, something immediately catches my eye. And I said, hey, can I take a look at this? So I am looking at that item, and it just starts, checking a lot of boxes for stuff that I'm kind of into. And, a shout out again to guys like Aaron, Value Vintage Cards, Jason, Everyday Card Collector, for showing me these type of cards. And I had picked one up a while back, not in that great a condition, of Mickey Cochran. And I'm going to show you a quick video. Ross videotaped the transaction when I finally decided to buy this. I did walk around and look at other stuff, and I came back and I finally decided to buy this. So here's just a quick little video of Ross recording when I actually purchased and got the item.
All righty. Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure. Thank you. I'll treasure this. We'll show the camera.
Now that video is a little bit blurry, So I'll try to show this. No, I'm sure there'll be a glare, but this is what is a 1936 R312 National Chicle Pastel of the great Johnny Mize. And this is actually a rookie for Johnny Mize. Another Cardinal, but he also played for the Giants and the Yankees, so it's not just a Cardinal. But Johnny Mize is going to be featured in a video that I'm doing on Hall of Fame guys, like way up high, not like your marginal Hall of Famers, but really high-end Hall of Famers who, to me, are underappreciated. I'm kind of doing a whole team lineup. Here's my first baseman. Outstanding player, and this is just, there's so much glare, it's going to be hard to see it, but this is just a beautiful, beautiful item. Bill worked with me a little bit on the price, which was nice. And he had so many cards that I wanted. There's a 51 Bowman Ted Williams that I know that I was looking at. Ross was contemplating that too. Just outstanding. And of course, he had a lot of pre-war stuff that was just making me drool. And I was walking all over and seeing other stuff. And finally, I went to Tim Payne. Tim Payne was there, and again, just mouth-watering, the cards that he had. And there was a couple that stood out right at the beginning. Now, you guys have seen the shows of the 10 cards people want in their collection in their lifetime. And I did one of those. I'm not big on video responses, but I did one of those. And one of the cards that I've wanted for, gosh, as long as I can remember, Tim Payne had there. And I looked at it, and it was absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. Now, I picked up that Mize, so I didn't really want to spend that much more money, but I still had some money to play with. And this card was beyond that. It's a big card for me, but it was beyond that, so I didn't get it. But he had another card that was should have been on my list. I didn't have it on my list. It was right outside, and the reason why I didn't put it on there, which blew my mind, because right after I posted that video, I'm like, I forgot this card. But I ended up picking this up. And how I picked it up was, he had another card that Ross has shown, so I'll go ahead and say what it is, because you guys have probably already seen his video that posted, but Ross wanted a 1951 Larry Doby, and it's a SGC 5.5. It's a stunning card. And the card I wanted was a 1951 Roy Campanella Bowman. I've always wanted that card, and I don't know why I didn't put that on my list. I think because I put Zach Wheat Polar Bear at the very end, where I should have had this one, but I regretted not putting that on there, and I commented on a lot of videos. That was one that I wanted. But anyway, I asked Tim Payne for a deal, and he didn't want to give me the deal I wanted. And then Ross asked him. They were both the same price that they had posted. Ross asked him for a deal, and he didn't really. Well, actually, let me back it up. Ross said, hey, well, let's see if I throw the Doby in, if he'll give us a deal for both of them. Well, he didn't give us the deal that either one of us really wanted, but it was still a great price for what we got these for. So we were just trying to get a little bit better deal. But, I mean, this is a stunning example of a 1951 Bowman Roy Campanella. I mean, that to me is one of the best looking cards ever made. And I think that's a pretty popular opinion, but that's just a beautiful, absolutely beautiful example of that card. It's very well centered, especially left to right. It's very sharp. The registration is stunning. No creases. It's just a beautiful example, and I am going to treasure that card forever. Absolutely love it. Again, walking around, seeing so many cards that, they were way out of my price range, but I just loved them. But I kept thinking back to this other card that Tim Payne had, because it was on my list, on my video. And it is one of the top 3 or 4 cards that I've wanted, like I said, going back years. It was just, I already basically had spent my money. That beyond what I was going to spend. So we're walking around, and what's cool about hanging out with these guys at the shows is you kind of can see what they're getting. You can ask their opinions. I had got people look at those cards for me and give me the thumbs up, and walked around and ran into Chris and Mike Moynihan and Cooper looking at a card. And I'm going to show a quick video that I made of them. I hope they don't mind me posting this, but this is Chris. You can't see what the item is, but this is Chris contemplating an item that he ends up picking up. So I'm going to show you the video of that here in just for a second.
I was telling the story. I don't have either of the two that I have. And I guess I forgot, or I applied to forgot at the end. I don't know what he should.
I had a guy give me a drinks from the card in the trade.
That's exactly what that is.
Okay, so I can't remember off the top of my head what year it is. I think it might be a 1887 Allen Ginter, John Clarkson. Now, I'm a baseball history nerd, so I know who John Clarkson is. 300-game winner, very underappreciated and relatively obscure and unknown. I mean, because of when he pitched. But look him up on Baseball Reference. He was one of the best to do it, especially for the era that he played in. So here's a picture of Chris picking it up, and I'm going to go ahead and show this because Mike Moynihan showed this in a video that he posted. I wasn't going to do that. I was going to wait for Chris to post this on a video, but since his buddy Mike went ahead and posted a video showing this, I'll just show a picture of Chris with that card. So here it is. Now, that was towards the end of us hanging out there. Some guys picked up some cards. Some guys didn't pick up much of anything. But at this point, we all went out to the lobby just to kind of hang out and talk. And like I said, I wish we could have hung out longer with those guys, especially Mike. I really kind of wanted to talk to him and get to know him a little bit better because I admire him so much just for his passion for the hobby, the education that he's provided to people. And he's just a great guy, just a great dude. And I don't know how he puts up with Chris from Missouri, but he does. So anyway, Mike, if you're watching this, I don't know if you watch my stuff, but I hopefully at some point we'll be able to hang out some more over the years. So I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, those guys, Joe, Chris, Coop, and Mike, they kind of decided they were going to go off and do this stuff. I know Mike was going to leave the next morning, so they ended up taking off. But Joe, Redneck Collector, I keep saying Joe, it was Tom, Chris's friend Tom. I keep calling him Joe for some reason, so I apologize, Tom. But Joe, Redneck Collector, Ross, and I decided we were going to go out and eat. So we went out and ate, and we talked and talked and talked. And I bet we were out there 2.5, 3 hours. And I could not get my mind off of this card that Tim Payne had that absolutely it was just a card I've always wanted. And I didn't have the money to get it with me. And I kept thinking about it. And we were talking about different cards and that we saw at the show. And I kept looking at the card ladder for this card. And I really wanted it so bad. But I just knew, hey, that's, I got to save my Strongsville budget. So it's about, by the time I get back, and we stayed out, like I said, for a long time. By the time I get back to the hotel and change out my dressing on my foot and just kind of unwind, it's about 10 o'clock. So I'm getting tired, I'm pretty sore, worn out, and so I go to bed. About 3 a.m., I wake up, and I cannot get this card off my mind. So I start calculating my budget, and I know I've got medical bills coming up, so I wanted to keep everything out of that just to make sure. Well, I've been talking about saving up for Strongsville for a long time and how I keep eating into the budget. Well, I have this special budget for Strongsville that I put money in. I don't even think about it. It's untouchable. It's just for Strongsville. I don't even consider that for any other type of saving for Strongsville. And the more I kept thinking about this card, it checked all the boxes. It's a goal card, one of the goal cards that I've always wanted. It had the centering that I wanted. It has the registration that I wanted. And the two little flaws that it has, you have to put up to your eyes to see it. Now, if you can do that, or you have to do that, how big of a flaw is it? But anyway, it has my eye appeal, I absolutely could not get this card off my mind. So I was sitting there, I was checking out on Card Ladder and, SGC2. And how I look at it is I have a price point that I'm thinking of. So I looked at what Tim Payne had this card priced as, and I looked at Card Ladder, I looked at eBay, and everything that I could find, this card was better than any of those, and it really wasn't even close. And there's probably a reason for that, but the price point was better than a lot of those cards. Even though, the ones that recently sold in a 2 was over $100 more expensive than what Tim Payne was asking. So thinking about this, kicking around, I finally decided I'm going to get up if he still has it, and I'm going to get this card. Because I was staying at the hotel where the show is. So it was very easy for me just to go down there when the show started and get in there and get this. So I get up. Joe texted and said, hey, are you guys going to go? Talking to me and Ross. Well, Ross ended up not feeling very well, so he decided to drive home. But Joe, Redneck Collector, said he was going to go ahead and show up there pretty much when it starts. And of course, I went down there. Well, first, let me back up. I got up, went out and had a little breakfast, and then I went to the ATM because I didn't want to mess with PayPal or Venmo. I just went and got cash. So I got back to the show, went in there right when it started, and went straight to Tim Payne's table. And I looked, and I didn't see the card. I was like, well, it wasn't meant to be. So I was kind of bummed. So I just looked at where it was, and I noticed that there was a slab on top of the slab. And I looked close, and I realized the card that I wanted was the card underneath it. And so I recognized I could see it well enough. So I was pretty excited. I called Tim over, and because he was still kind of getting some stuff set up. And I said, hey, I got to look at that card again. And of course, I looked at it like 3 times on Friday, and this is Saturday morning. And I'm looking at it, and again, it's checking all the boxes. Now, again, this is a huge card for me. It's a gold card that I've had since I was a kid. It's a player I love to collect. And this is a card that I could see getting at Strongsville next year if I just can't find another one that I could afford of the other types of cards that were on my goal list. But I threw out an offer to him. Now, when I told him, he recognized me from the day before. But I threw out an offer to him, and he took it. And so I got it. So, again, I'm excited about this. This is a huge card for me. Again, a huge card for me and a gold card. But it's a 1949 Bowman Duke Snider rookie. Now, this is what's kind of funny about it. At the dinner, when I was talking to Joe and Ross, I don't look at the grade. I was so focused on the card that I just thought it was a 2. Ross goes, well, I thought it was a 2.5. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it was a 2. Again, I just focus on the image of the card. The grade is secondary. But Ross was correct. It was a 2.5. So that is a beautiful, beautiful 2.5. I am just trying to, if I wasn't so tired and sore, I would be just cheesing big time. That is a beautiful card. Look at the centering on that. The registration is outstanding. And again, I'm not going to really point out the flaws. There's a couple little flaws on there, but again, I have to look at it up close to even see it a little bit. They're that minor. But it dropped it down to a 2.5. And those flaws don't go into his face or his hat. They're kind of up here, down, up there, down there. It's just a beautiful example. I don't buy cards that I might have to upgrade. I wouldn't even consider upgrading this card. I absolutely love it. The back is nice as well. And like I said, so between this and this, I got 2 of my gold cards. 2 of the top 10, 15 cards I wanted my entire life. And I got them at this one show. And on top of that, I got a Hall of Fame rookie of the great Johnny Mize. Now, going back to Tate's Veda Pinson, I was just walking around with Joe because I already got that this morning before Joe got there. But we were just looking around, and Joe was kind of struggling to figure out if he wanted to get a card or save some money. But we were walking around, and I saw a stack of Cons, 1964 Cons, Wieners cards. And I asked the guy, hey, do you have a Veda Pinson in there? And he's like, I don't know. So he, like I said, there's a stack. And, well, he did. So this is the last thing I got. It's ungraded. But, you know, I'm a huge Veda Pinson collector. I've got some of the older cons, believe it or not, but I didn't have this one. And I don't have the ones that are newer than that one. There's the back. Beautiful example, especially for the price I paid for it. But I got to tell you, I had a blast. I had so much fun. I needed this. This was a really good pick-me-up from being in the hospital and taking my mind off my health issues and things, because I still got stuff. I got surgeries coming up, but I had a blast. This was so much fun. I love this. That's, you know, to experience that, it was just such a great time. And, you know, going back to Mike Moynihan, when we were all sitting out in the lobby after we attended the show on Friday, Mike goes, "Hey, you wanted to see this mize?" So, you know, I handed him the mize, and he looked at that, and I got the seal of approval from Mike Moynihan. Now, to some of you, that may not mean a lot, but to a guy like me who lives in Kansas, who doesn't get to hang out with a lot of the guys and never has, except for the guys around Missouri and Oklahoma and stuff, nothing against them, obviously. But, you know, I've hung out with them. So to meet new guys, new YouTube guys who've been around for a long time, it meant a lot to me to have Mike Moynihan look at this card and tell me it was a good card. So that was awesome. So, Mike, I appreciate that. Chris, as always, it was fun hanging out with you. You're a blast. I've met Tom a few times now. He's a great guy, and Coop's pretty quiet. I know him the least out of everybody. And then, of course, Ross and Joe are two of my closest friends in the hobby. And we talked a little bit tonight about this show, and we could see this show. This could just be me dreaming, but I could see this show as kind of a more of a centralized version of Strongsville, because it is almost all vintage. It's not huge, so you can walk around, which, you know, a lot of the appeal for Strongsville is you meet and get to hang out with everybody, just talk cards for, you know, 2 or 3 days. And this would be something I could see doing that. It's in St. Louis, so I think there's probably an airport there that you guys can fly to or drive to. It's kind of centrally located. But I could just see something like that. I would love to have that happen. And another reason is this show is annually in October, which is exactly 6 months, either before or after, depending on how you look at it, from Strongsville. So that would be cool to have 2 shows where all of us vintage guys and gals can hang out. And, you know, it's not a huge show like the National where you're walking around getting worn out and everything's spread out. It's nice and compact. Maybe it's too small. I have never been to Strongsville. I don't know how many tables are there. But this show had about 80, 85 tables. And like I said, they do a lot of autograph signing here. But it's just something, an idea that I kind of tossed out to Joe and Ross. And they, you know, they could see something like happening. You know, I don't know. I'm just kind of babbling now. I'm excited. I'm tired. But anyway, great show for me. I absolutely had a blast. I love this community. I love hanging out with you guys. I'm going to start getting some online chats going again here in the next week or so as my energy level comes back. So, you know, expect some emails and texts saying, "Hey, you guys want to put something together?" If you want to be involved in that, those chats, they've all been informal. We don't record anything. Shoot me an email and say, "Hey, I'd like to do it. Give me the nights of the week." I could do it every night of the week because I just love doing this. But thanks for watching. I got to show this card. I love this card. I love that card. Absolutely stunning example. I love this card. Again, a stunning example. Just absolutely love it. I love my musical. I got to show that again. Love it. And of course, Johnny Mize rookie, 1936. Beautiful. And last but not least, my man Tate. Love it. All right, guys, I rambled on about 10 minutes longer than I should have, but I'm excited. This has given me some energy, this hobby, this community. Best medicine out there. So until next time, I hope you all enjoy collecting.